The Minister of Niger Delta Affairs, Senator Akpabio, has fought back the push against him, criticizing the limited scope of National Assembly's inquest into the financial activities of the Niger Delta Development Commission. According to him, the probe should not be restricted to between February and July 2020. That's currently the mandate of the National Assembly. More should be a comprehensive probe of the interventionist agencies since its 19 years of existence. The NDDC had said it received over 15 trillion in the past 19 years with nothing to justify that huge funds, wondering why lawmakers decided to probe only 5 months' activities in the commission. The minister had earlier mentioned a few names of National Assembly members he claimed that benefited most from the contract awarded by the management teams of the commission within the period under review. We are now being joined from the Arise Abuja studio by Kolawole Johnson, Head Directorate of Research and Strategy and Programs, Act for Positive Transformation Initiative. He's also a member of the Nigerian Institute of Public Relations. It's a pleasure having you to the program. Welcome, and great to have you.
Thank you, and good morning.
Thank you very much. 15 trillion.
Thank you.
When you calculate 15 trillion in 19 years, that's almost replica, of the size of budgets year on year of this country for a while. That colossal amount, nothing can be seen, nothing tangible. Don't let me say nothing can be seen, because there'll be some works that can be seen, but nothing commensurate, with the ratio as regards the amount spent. What can you say accounts for this debacle?
Corruption, simple. I mean, for any sane Nigerian, you know that what has kept us backward over the years has been corruption. The reason we became the poverty headquarters of the world is corruption, no other reason. Of course, some will tell you bad leadership. Of course, bad leadership would also breed corruption. If you look at the corruption index and the poverty index, you can place them side by side and know that the reason we are at this state, why 15 trillion, why you won't even get up to 30% of value, it's because of corruption. At a time like that, when the poverty index of Nigeria was around 22% in the 70s, then it moved to 46%, then 63% at a time, till we became the poverty headquarters of the world. The same way, if you check the same period, corruption was also increasing exponentially too. So as corruption increases, poverty increases, then the value we have for outputs also reduces. Now, take for example, I've explained on this same station before that our output to value ratio, it's abysmal. If you budget 100 naira, and it is not just in NDDC, it is general. It is what is obtainable generally in public works. In public works in Nigeria, the ratio, the indices came out some years back. It was a worldwide research. As at that time, we learned, which is even worse now, that in Nigeria, for every 100 naira budgeted for anything, if you budget 100 naira for anything at all, the value you get is less than that of 30 naira, at times 20 naira. And in the case of NDDC, it could be worse. So the minister may be speaking fact to say 30%, but for me, I think it is even lower. We might not have gotten anything near 30% in terms of value for what we spent in this period. And I think that is why the president ordered the forensic auditing of the place. And the main reason why we as a body continually we have advocated for a thorough auditing process, for an independent auditing process. You cannot ask those who have been part of the looting of the place and who are still part of the looting of the place to audit the place. We won't get justice, and nobody will go back to the last 20 years again to audit NDDC. That is why we keep crying, Mr. President, some people need to vomit what they have stolen in the last 20 years from the people. And please note that this is blood money, because people are dying daily in the region, in the area, simply because the money that is meant to work for them is not working for them. So we must ensure that we get through this forensic auditing in the most, professionally. For us, as a body, we keep saying that Mr. President needs to appoint independent auditors. Thank God, as we speak now, there is no forensic auditors on the field auditing the place. And don't forget that if the minister is complaining today, fine. He was a governor for 8 years. He was part of those that nominated members, even MD, to serve in that same place. As a member of National Assembly, he was a leader of the opposition. What did he do? He was also a member of the NDDC committee of the Senate. So he has been part of the rot. If he's complaining, tell him that he is also part of what he is complaining about. So he's not free. And you can imagine right now, as we speak, that despite the fact that the focus of the nation is on the commission, despite the fact that investigations are ongoing on the activities of the commission, the looting has not stopped. I wrote a letter to Mr. President some few weeks ago. Yeah, very precisely August 5th. And I explained that, Mr. President, the IMC or the NDDC and the minister came to you to explain that the reason they were not able to pay the scholars is simply because they have no EDFA, so they were not making payment. And I said, Mr. President, they lie, because between May 28th, that the former EDFA died, and July 28th, the last working day before they came to you, the IMC has spent, under the minister, 24.26 billion naira, and I gave the account of those payment to Mr. President. Most of them squandered. Take, for example, within the same period, in fact, on a single day, July 9, the same day that the investigative hearing of the Senate started, the IMC paid or squandered over 6 billion naira on the silting. Guess what? Against the directive of Mr. President. Sometimes last year, towards the end of the year, Mr. President told the minister in specific not to pay for this silting because they know it's an avenue of looting. They do nothing when you hear the silting. But that same thing, against the directive of Mr. President, in 3 weeks, they spent over 12 billion naira or squandered on the silting. Guess what? July 9th, the same day that the investigative hearing started in the Senate, they moved out over 8 billion naira, and over 6 billion of this money went on this silting. July 28th, when the scholars abroad, when they gave the notice of protest that they were going to protest the following week, Monday, if the NDDC refused to pay them, that same day, NDDC squandered close to 4 billion naira, largely on the silting again. So if the minister is complaining about the past, what is it doing about the present? The present is almost worse, because right now, we are not even getting 10% value for what they are spending. I told you that under the minister, we have spent over 130 billion naira. And guess what? You can't even have 10% value for this money. I agree with the minister that the past is horrible, but the present is much more. In fact, the present is thinking. Thank you.
Well, Kolawole Johnson, my concern is that we've gone through all of this before. I think this is about the third time we're having a conversation with you on this same subject. And I was wondering what's new. Would you like to tell me something that is new that I've not heard from you before? For example, Senator Akpabio, just hold on.
What I just rolled out to you now.
Just hold on. I'm not done yet. Senator Akpabio had said, for example, that the scope of the audit is limited. Would you agree that there should be an extension from the beginning of NDDC up to this moment? I mean, in that regard, NDDC in 20 years has not even been able to build a headquarters. The Content Management Development Board, MDB, that was established 10 years ago, the other day commissioned a massive building, its headquarters and some other facilities. And then second, there's been this concern that the National Assembly is not really is not serious about the probe of the NDDC. That was in the news about last week, with people complaining that the NDDC, the National Assembly, should not go on recess while the urgent matter of the NDDC is before it. What's your take? What do you think?
Let me start from the very last question. I must confess to you that if you get the drift of my argument, I told you that the day the Senate hearing started, money moved out of the purse of NDDC. Of course, you can by yourself interpret. Now, getting back to NAS, I think, I don't know if this will be correct, but I can tell you that the present NAS, see, let me give you personal experience with NAS. January was when we wrote our first petition against the present IMC. And I can tell you that nothing was done. In April, we wrote another petition, of course. Perhaps because of national outcry, it led to the probe you had. But during the probe, you would understand the fact that the rot in NDDC is so much that you cannot oversight that place without seeing the rot nakedly. So you can't separate the members of the National Assembly from the rot in NDDC today. And if during probe, the squandering we complain about were ongoing, I personally, on behalf of our organization, I wrote to the Senate President, I wrote to Mr. Speaker that, well, that they should please stop NDDC from making payments because they're still squandering money during investigation. Nothing was done. That should speak to you. Because I felt that if we are trying to do our part by exposing corruption, bodies who have the legal power to act should have acted. But they practically did nothing. I looked at the Senate report. Of course, fair a little bit. But there were more grievous things to have indicted these people on that practically they ignored. What has happened in the House of Reps? We learned that they laid the report and that was the end. How would you leave? How would you go on break when such an important matter was before you? That Mr. President said that he was waiting for your report to act, and you went on break, leaving such an issue hanging. Of course, now you know where their interest lies. And I've told you before now that if we're not watching, I mentioned this earlier, that if we were not watching, the IMC smuggled a letter to National Assembly trying to get vehement for the same amount they were being probed for. And I said there were people internally colluding with them. I said that on this same program. But the danger we have right now is that, are we going to be looking at ourselves like this? Are we going to give the despondency a sit-down-and-look approach? That is why stations like Arise must be commended for sustaining developmental communication. You don't take your eyes away from the ball until you get a result, and that is exactly what you're doing. Number two, you asked me that what is new. Now, what is the figures I've reeled out to you between May 28th that they spent and now, and July 28th, they were not in the public space. I only put them in the letter I wrote to the president August 5th, and since then, we have avoided conversation. Don't forget that the minister accused the National Assembly members of benefiting from the rot in the place. So the moment that happened, we felt that if two of your enemies are fighting, you don't strengthen either of them by maybe attacking one. So we stayed out of the space so that they can by themselves destroy themselves. That is the reason you see that we've not been in the space at all. Deliberately, we wanted them to, by themselves destroy themselves. And the main reason why we wrote that letter was simply because scholars were not paid. I remember, to show peace, to show that we are just after the right things to be done, we made postings that they should please pay these scholars, that we have no business coming out again to engage, because we have done our part. We have been on this for over a year. Of course, you should be tired at a point if nothing is done. That the IMC should please pay scholars so that they won't have no reason to bring us out again. We even gave ultimatum, and some people sent to us that if we were not playing to gallery, that the ultimatum was too short. Again, we increased it. I thought that is not enough. I personally got the number of the MD, and I sent him a text message appealing that they should please pay the scholars. And I explained to him that for us, we felt we have done our job. We have exposed the rot. If the government likes, they take action or not. But we have done our part by exposing that it should please pay the scholars. This was before we wrote the letter. It was when they refused to pay that we came out with that letter to the president, especially when they deceived the president and the entire nation was aware. Now, let me give you the deadline that will shock you now. No, maybe that will just be of interest to you. In April, from April around April 9th or 10th or so, we started some engagement, rather, exposing contract scams in the agency. On April 27th, to be very precise, we had a press statement exposing the lies of the IMC in terms of contract scams. But 3 days after, April 30th, the president approved those contracts. The contract that they wrote letter for approval after we had exposed them, contract scam. Then they gave them approval, not just gave them that approval. They also extended their term. Does that not mean that the government is rewarding corruption? Wait again. Now, when all of this was ongoing, and they went in to deceive the president about the EDFA. Now, again, we wrote to the president that, Mr. President, they have deceived you, they have deceived the nation, embarrassed the nation. What did we get thereafter? The government appointed an EDFA for them. Until today, are we saying that without the National Assembly, ICPC cannot act, EFCC cannot act, the DSS cannot act? They have these agencies, they can get in one single week what took us over 1 year to get. So I think the government is trying with this to perhaps hang itself as a government that is not ready to fight corruption. And the main reason why you see many of us supporting the president is because we know him as a person who is against corruption. And so for us, we think right now, what is new? The government needs to act. Then don't forget that I said I gave you figures that have not been in the public space. All the figures I read to you now were not in the public space. And I can read to you company by company those who got payments, including companies that we alleged of being involved in contract scams. They have all been paid. AHR has been paid again. Osmosav has been paid again. In fact, in one single day, one single person used 5 companies to get payment out, amounting to over 3 billion naira. That was on the 9th of July. What has happened? Nothing. Now, these things are not in the public space. Now, let me also tell you that the company we are accused of getting, the engineering company that got a media consultancy job of 749 million naira has been paid again thereafter. They have paid him 400 million naira in 2 tranches. The first was when they paid him 216 million. Then the next one was 185 million naira on that same July 9th. And guess what? They said that represented 80%. So he still has more money to collect. In a contract, we all know that is scam. So these things are not in the public space. We are, bringing them much more.
Well, Mr. Kolawole, you did mention the Antigraft agencies playing their role. Just last week, the EFCC, we are told, has commenced probe against the minister and the acting MD of the commission. But to my question, are you saying that this administration does not have what it takes to make the difference? Are you saying that this administration that set up the IMC that says there must be a forensic audit cannot clean up the corruption in the NDDC? Are you saying that 20 years from now, we are going to be discussing the same rot of financial recklessness in the commission, if it still exists?
All right. You must understand the job of the media in setting agenda for public discourse. That is what you're doing. Now, do I have faith in the government to bring about a lasting solution? 100% yes, I have. Now, are we being satisfied with the present or with the government body language? The answer is no. Now, you said that EFCC started probe last week. Now, one, do you know, since we've been shouting about this, do you know how much of our energy has gone into this? And they are just starting last week. I mean, you can be the judge by yourself. Do they need to wait on the petition that they got last week before starting? Now, the question is just there for you to answer. Don't forget that they only called someone who submitted petition to come adopt. Does that speak to you that they have actually started investigation? We are also monitoring. Of course, we are also monitoring, and we hope that something good will come out, because there are rumors out there that nothing much will come out of that. We pray that they prove us wrong, and something not just good, something concrete comes out of there. As I speak to you, the minister, this week, perhaps today, tomorrow, will be trying to get another approval from the president. Perhaps for some things backdated, perhaps. And you have the security agencies sending security reports to the president every single day. Should that still be going on? Should the man still be getting any approval for payments? When you know that he's under investigation, when you know clearly that there are allegations of corruptions against him. So for me, when you say, do we have hope that, I mean, are we accusing that the government won't be able to? No, we are not saying that. We are saying government, the main reason why we wouldn't have come out if we think they won't do anything. The main reason why we came out, putting our lives, putting our energy, putting everything, over 28 volunteers worked on this for months. The main reason we did that for our country, for our nation, patriotically, was because we knew the government will act. And I've said it openly that I believe that, Mr. President, when it comes to taking decisions in this area, that is firm enough to do that. But we are not getting that result. If he says he was waiting for the National Assembly, let's assume that Senate has submitted and the House has gone their way. Let's assume, what stops the president of the country or the government from setting up a presidential panel? Give them 2 weeks to bring in reports, and in 2 weeks they are done. We will go there not just to testify, to bring facts, to bring documents to the table. We have seen one done for Mago. So what has happened in EFCC with Mago? I don't even know, if those things are true or not, but they are nothing compared to what has happened in NDDC. Here the minister, 15 trillion naira. Should we continue on that same track? The answer is no. So the government needs to act, and act as soon as possible.
Right, you've put this out there. What will be the action you want to see as regards this? Because you said they're still even issuing, they're still even making it easy for them to still get money by giving them approvals to some of the pending projects. What action would you want to see? Would you want all of that stopped now? What's the next line of action you would like to see?
See, we said this months back, if the nation had listened to us last year, of course, we believe part of the reason they stopped them from paying the sale team, it was because we made a lot of noise then last year. If the nation had listened to us in January when we wrote our petition, we would have saved the nation at least 100 billion naira. If they had listened to us in April, we would have saved the nation perhaps another 50, 60 billion naira. If they had listened to us by May 31st, would have saved the nation over 27 or 28 billion naira now. So the more you leave them there, the more they spend. What we wrote to the National Assembly to do was to stop further payments in that place. After all, they have no budget. Their 2019 budget expired on May 31st. And the National Assembly said they have called them to bring their budget performance, that they didn't do that in good time. Then when they said when they eventually submitted, we saw on the national television, they went to NAS to defend their budget, and there were discrepancies in the papers they submitted, so much that that NAS questioned a figure of 183 billion naira. Now, they begged the National Assembly, who were there, that they wanted to go back and rework their papers, that they will come back. Till today, we don't know whether it is NAS that is delaying that or them. But the fact remains that they don't have 2020 budget in place, and they keep spending. How do you justify that under the government? Are we saying that the agencies are not aware of this? And so what actions do we want the government to take? First, if you don't want to remove them, please stop them from making further payments. Because this money is not working for the people. The minister said we didn't get value for what we spent before. He placed the value we got at 30%. But I'm saying now that what we are squandering now, we are not even getting 10% value for the money we are spending now. It is worse than before. The earlier you stop them from spending, the better. Let them concentrate on the assignment. But number two, I'm also saying that to get justice, let the president or the government appoint independent forensic auditors, not forensic auditors handpicked by the minister, who have nominated people to serve in that place before, who is also who is also supervising the squandering of money going on there right now. So in that way, we will get justice for the people. So these are the two things we are asking for. And I think it is only on moral ground that if these people have been alleged this much and facts are available, sack them from office.
Well, thank you very much, Kolawole Johnson. Thank you very much indeed. I'm sure that our viewers understand where you are coming from and your passion that the right things must be done for Nigeria to move forward.
Yeah.